and it opened right up, and it's got 78% downloaded, and that's it. So you're going to have to use my phone. And what you'll do, you're muted right now.
You're going to have some calls. And you know that's going to happen. That's why I don't want to use the data.
No, all you have to do is this. Or you can get on it. Mute my phone. Mute it all the way. I guess that's all as far as it's going to mute.
So I won't be able to hear them.
I'm muting the phone ringing. Didn't mute my whole phone, everything on it. I muted phone ringing. Okay, so then I have to go back to this. And then I have to go back to this. They said for you to come in like maybe 7:10.
Yeah.
So this is Alec. This is the thing. And at 7:10, click where it's underlined.
Yeah.
See, it's downloaded to there. I told it to do it. I've tried 8 times. Boom, 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 boom. But this is the first time that it said it was installed. But I did it from his email. I clicked on it, and then it said that I needed to have I already installed it. Well, I tried to, but it never went through. So I just went in and hit the other thing, and it started going. I'm like, oh, cool, it's going down. It's at 78, and that's it. And it doesn't want you to get out of it. Don't close the window or any of that crap, because it won't keep going. So anyway. Storms can do stuff too. It can put a big mess everything. I don't think so. It's doing it from you. Because I've been plug it in for.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk Short Track. I'm Frank.
I'm Erin.
This is Erin, and we're live on episode 7.
Yes.
So this is your second episode, but
a little behind the game.
Here at the Thormeyer Family Ranch and Race Shop, the motorsports park here, right? With everything that we got going on. Did we tell you what happened today?
No.
So we steered one of the customer cars, right? Got that done, and at 9:30 we got out and we had to herd up sheep on the ranch today.
Oh, no.
to give them haircuts. And I didn't get my haircut, but it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was cool. Then one of the cows had a baby. There's a lot going on at the old ranch today. It's pretty cool.
Busy.
So how about you? How was your day?
It was good. We worked all morning and then sat in traffic on the way over to the ranch.
I
said love I-4.
One thing I've learned in Florida, that you spend more time sitting at red lights than I've ever in my life in the last. I've been here 6 months now.
I got caught by the train here. I've never seen
I did that
such
this morning.
a long train.
I counted, it was 120 cars. That's how bored I was. But, well, we got a good show today. We're going to have Jeff Bloom on. That's going to be cool. We had him on a while back, one of our first episodes, and it's going to be great having him on. I'm excited actually because he had some health surgery and did some medical stuff he had to take care of. We'll hopefully get to hear how that went and so he did.
Recovery.
But it's all you out there on, I don't know, where you go,
where you're at,
internet land or whatever. We got we're going to be talking about Jeff and his career, but right now and we only had a few races going on. We had ASA race over at Five Flags Speedway.
On the 24th.
Yep. And then we want to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, we're gonna have a great show for you guys. How about that ASA race? I watched just a little bit of the previews of it. So what I was a little upset with is the crowd count for a pinnacle race, right? It's ASA. It's a big race.
I
think
was
that's
surprised, and with ARCA being there the same weekend, I figured there'd be a big crowd.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that just shows that what we got to do out here. We're here. We're open mics. Let's talk short track. Getting people aware of short track racing. I mean, this is a. I look at it like you were just talking earlier about. I felt like for me it was like 2012 to 13 where I feel like there was. I mean, what happened between them? We got cell phones, right? But the other thing we were talking about is the coverage.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we were talking about Inverness a little bit. They don't allow TV coverage at them races, and it was packed. I mean, it was packed.
And as much as we do like being able to watch the races when we're not there,
Yeah.
it is, I think, a downside of it is people are less motivated. And when you're in person, you don't really get, or unless they have a big TV,
Yep.
you don't get the feedback or the instant replay,
Well,
which a lot of people like.
And your race family like mine, your family, how many times you've gone to a race, just hey, let's go to that race when it wasn't covered, when race monitor wasn't on, when any of that stuff wasn't on, you went.
Yeah.
We got to
that's the
go,
only way to
otherwise
say
the
no.
only way they're going to see it.
Yeah.
And then no one's going to talk about the results. And I mean, there's something said about that. I'm not really prone to that. I'm a race fan too, so I love sitting down on a Sunday night and watching Slinger from my couch. I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you, I like doing that.
I
But
like the convenience of, or if I can't be at a race,
yeah,
it's not, and if you have multiple friends, family members racing at different tracks, it is very nice and convenient to be able to watch all of them and not have to be there.
yeah, I would love to hear from our guests out there, our fans. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, it's I would like that'd be a great comment. Like, comment in on our comments panel and what you think about it. It's everybody loves to watch it on TV, but
Absolutely.
how do the tracks survive if we got 1,000 people watching at home and we have 800 in the grandstands and you got a 20,000 to win race? How's that
And
work?
even track officials and track owners, I'd love to hear their feedback on the benefits, because I'm sure they wouldn't do it
If they did.
if there wasn't a benefit.
Yeah.
I'm sure financially there is a benefit for them to.
Yeah,
have
have
it.
that ability. That's what I said. I went to that Supercross race over at Daytona, packed. I mean, from coming out of turn 4 all the way down into turn 1, jam slam packed, and we were on the front stretch, all the way from the wall down to the grass.
Standing.
People standing,
It's crazy.
drinking a shitload of beer was awesome. But no, so the ASA race I did watch. Did you see the finish? Did you see who won the race? It was Cole Butcher.
Yeah.
What ended up winning it?
Yes.
Um,
In overtime.
Yeah, and then it went to Jake Garcia, right? Was
Yes.
second.
Second.
And then it's funny because every time you watch it, oh yeah, that guy's gonna win. Then you go there and like I said, when you watch from the couch, then you're getting up and grabbing a bag of potato chips and
Not
grabbing
fully
some
there.
Oreos and some milk or whatever you got to do. But yeah, so then we got Matthew Craig. He ended up third, and then Stephen
Nassie
Nassie
fourth.
was fourth. But yeah, that was kind of the only thing on our world, an asphalt world. I know there's a ton of racing going on in the dirt world.
Yeah.
And we want to get more tuned into that too. I think that's going to be our future for that. But yeah, so we're going to have Jeff Bloom on. It should be a really good show on. He has so much to tell us. Like I said,
Such a career too.
right. I said when you look that guy up and what he's done. It's like, holy cows, and just, you can't, I mean, like I said, the last time we were on the phone with him for 15, 20 minutes, what the heck can you say?
You
in
needed a whole
15
nother show.
He's got a whole, and that's why I'm hoping this show does that. But yeah, so it was, otherwise, we've been busy in our race shop doing our thing, and Nick was here, your
Monday.
fiance was
Yeah.
here Monday, and getting stuff done. We got Little Man's Pro done, we're getting ready, and we got that race coming up at Cordele,
Yeah.
the Cars Tour. That's
Yep,
going to be
on the
cool.
12th.
Yeah. Dale Earnhardt and them are going to be there racing. And is that the first time the Cars Tour goes to Cordele?
I believe so.
Yeah, that'll be neat. That'll be um, it's weird because Cordele is a different, like we went there and I said, I've raced a lot of racetracks in my career. And the place reminded me of a place at home, and I'm just gonna leave it at that because I'm gonna work hard at what we need to do. But I looked at it differently and realized, wow, when you go one time, we didn't go testing, we didn't do it, we just showed up, raced, then remember test day rained out. I mean,
Yep.
we got very little time on the track. And then the next day we were going to go out and test on the first morning, and next thing our brakes,
Yeah.
master cylinders had problems. So then we didn't, that was next time.
Lost that day.
That was it.
Qualifying.
Yeah, so then it was into qualifying, and I think both of our drivers wanted to pretty much throw knives at me and said that sucked, and we got to figure out something different. And when we got home, we worked on something else. But the Cars Tour being there is going to be awesome for Cordele. That track, what they're trying to get done, beautiful place.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What the Nolans have done there.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. People got to really try to get to that track. Don't be sitting home watching it on TV. If you can get out to Cordele and watch that race, just that facility, everything. I mean, bring your camper. They have power, water, sewer, everything. They have an actual lake on the property that you park your camper. Look, you have lakefront camper
Yeah.
property, right?
Yeah. Camper view.
Yeah, and then it's just buried out in the woods, and it's literally a half mile off the interstate.
Yeah.
You cannot.
It's so easy to get to.
I-75, head straight west, and you're literally, what is that, exit 104 or 101?
Something like
Something
that.
like that, I think it is. I think when you see the porn shop, just straight, just go straight.
He's not
left.
lying this
I'm
time.
not, there is. You can't miss that.
It's right on the right.
You been there?
No, I've driven by it.
How can you miss that?
You can't.
There's no money in that, right? But yeah, so the Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be there.
Yeah.
And he's going to be racing, or is he just going to be there?
No, he's driving in
Oh,
the Cars
yeah.
Tour.
That'll be fun. That'll be good for the people in Georgia.
Yeah.
And like I said, that track, years and years and years ago, I went there. It's been a long time since I've been there, and that was just one time. And that place, that race we went to was a big race. I can't remember, but it was a pro race. I thought we went there as, but and it just I was with Anthony Campy when we went. I remember. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but I just remember the crowd was real good.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, where are them people? We got to get them people out. We got to get
And
people
I
off
think
the
that
cell
definitely
phone.
having Dale out there,
Yeah.
it'll be a sold out crowd.
Yeah, that'll be good. They need that there. And yeah, so I push for getting people off the cell phones and getting to the racetracks for sure. I mean, my friends bought Slinger Speedway. We're going to be talking to Travis one day. I'm going to call him and get him to come on our podcast. But talk to him and his, I talked to Travis actually, but him and his wife bought Slinger, and he's pushing to really make a change at short track racing in Wisconsin. And it needs it. And it needs fresh blood. He's young. They're a young couple, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about where we're at. But we're going to go to our messages, and after the messages, we're going to have
Yeah.
Jeff Bloom on, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Yeah, I got you. Just wait 1 minute. You got me? I don't think she has us yet.
Me?
She's asking. Welcome back to Let's Talk Short Track. Oh, we got a commercial going. Hold on, we're waiting for commercials.
I'd like to get this stuff. Like to get this. No.
Maggie, go back up there.
Lay down. Yes, but we have no picture. We got the lines. Correct. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Not me. I'm just not me. I'm just watching. Okay.
So
An
we're gonna,
eventful break there for a second.
so we're gonna have. I think we got Jeff on, don't we?
Yes.
Jeff, you there?
Yes. Yep.
All right, we got Jeff. First question I have for you, actually. Well, nice hearing you. I don't see you.
Yeah. I don't see
Thanks
you
for-
either, Alec.
So you got Frank and Erin here. And first question I have is, I know last time we were talking a little bit, had to go through some health stuff, and how's things going, and how you've been feeling?
Good. Good. Getting better. Actually, I have to have a procedure May 13th, where they take a scope and put it down to check my heart and all that stuff. But other than that, I feel fine.
That's good.
Good.
Oh, that's good to hear. That, yeah, no, there's one thing we can't ever, his health, right?
Yes. Let me tell you, I really never had health problems. Not really, but this winter has been hurtful. It's been a pain.
Yeah.
Well, they had the kidney thing, and then they tell me I go 2 months, I can't lift 5 pounds. Then we end up and have this heart deal, and I can't do anything either. So I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs, and I'm not used to that.
And that makes it worse, right? You're supposed to be healing up, and right now you want to go do stuff, and that just gets your mind off it, and then here you're
Exactly.
laid up.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I could go do it. I feel fine, but I don't want to do it. They don't want me to do it, and I don't want to do
Push
it
it
to make it go backwards. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and you got to make sure you're doing what's right, so
Yep.
you're not back in there. I mean, if the goal is to
Right.
get
Exactly.
away from it, yeah. That well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Make sure you heal up, and well, I'll be praying for you. I'm big on
Cool.
faith and
Well, yeah.
making sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you got me and Erin here, and we were last time me and you talked, Jeff, and Erin's our new, I'll say our new host, and she's a hell of a lot better looking than I am.
Gotcha. Well, I
But,
can't see you, but hi, Erin.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
But yeah, no, we were catching up a little bit, and I said the last time we were talking for 20 minutes, and we could have a 5-hour show with your career and everything that you've done, what you started, and I have so many questions because we were just talking a little bit on the beginning, and like even with racing where it's going, and And
Yeah.
coming from where how you started in it, right, is almost from I don't say the beginning, but you take either 40s and 50s and 60s. We'll just
Yep.
go that, and you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. I started racing in 1967.
yeah, yeah. That's how my dad he started. He came back from Vietnam, and
Uh,
him and his brother were supposed to build a race car, and his brother ended up getting killed in a plane crash,
oh,
Oh no.
and then
yeah.
so he just did it on his own. So he started in the late 60s,
Sure.
and then I was born in
Is that
70,
as
but that was all asphalt short track, oval track. But yeah, so you've seen a lot since the 60s, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
love your guys' old stories. It's sad my 17-year-old kid will never seen what I've seen, and then I'll never get to
Right.
see what you've seen.
Right. Right.
And then,
Exactly. And that's the thing. The people today don't realize what you went through when you first started.
right, the the work and the want. Everybody wants right now, and if it don't happen, they're out.
Right. Yep.
And and I always
Yep.
say what happened to the drywallers, the electricians, the mechanics, the stuff that did this stuff that got out there, got a car in their garage, started building it, and going, we're missing that big time.
Yeah. Alec, I can barely hear you.
Oh yeah, I suppose I could share a mic here a little bit because there, you got me better now, Jeff.
Yeah. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that
Thank you.
like taking the career. I just even when I started in the 80s, and I
Right.
feel like you had plumbers, drywallers, a lot of business owners that owned them
Sure.
things, and then they had late models, and then your
Sure.
everyday blue collar guy had a hobby stock or a sportsman car, and they came out racing, and
Right.
nowadays it's so technical, it's gotten so far advanced in technology. I
Well,
feel like it's
it,
just
it's more than anything, it's money.
yeah, yeah,
All the advancements, all that stuff, it's because there's so much money in racing now that didn't used to be.
yeah. Look at our rule books,
Yeah.
40 page, 50 page, 100 pages long
Yep.
on rules. But yeah,
Yep.
that's it. And when we were talking about even, the coverage now, you can watch a short track race from your couch.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
years ago, you had to go to the race to see who was going to win. And if
Right. Right.
you didn't want to hear about it, you had to be there.
Well, and quite honestly, between that and no racing newspapers anymore, people don't know where to go, when to go. Because not
Yeah,
everybody wants to sit on a computer. And furthermore, the websites of most of these tracks are not very good, anyways.
yeah.
And so you just don't have the crowd at the racetracks like we used to.
Erin, you were always on the promotion side. I remember. Do you remember like flyers? Remember Jeff when you went to the race and you came out to your vehicle and there was a flyer on your windshield?
Yeah,
About the next big
absolutely.
race coming up or other
Mhm.
Where?
tracks that
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
racing.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently
Right.
paper's expensive, huh?
And you
Maybe
could
it's ink.
take, well, you had the Mark Times and Speed Sport, and you could open it up. Even like
Yeah.
with me as a racer, I could look and see what the guys I know, what they did, run different divisions. You could see where races are, a week, 2 weeks ahead of time. And
Yeah.
that's what the fans did too. But obviously they don't now because it's not there.
My thing was always back in the day, and it wasn't even that far long ago. You
Right.
couldn't get a loan with for anything like a camper. You had to save money and buy a camper. You had to save
Right.
money and buy a motorcycle.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now anybody can, if you got a heartbeat, you can get a camper, a
Right.
motorcycle, a
Right.
boat. And people now that they got a $500 or $600 or $700 monthly payment, they got to go do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's something about that. But
Oh, yeah.
that
Well,
so
it's
when
just a culmination of all the different things that has
yeah,
changed.
yeah, and then too, I always feel like back in the day, we were just talking about this with my wife. I said the families are in the pits. This is what we do as a family. Back in the day, the families are in the grandstands,
exactly.
And the boys were in the pits working on the race cars.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think when was the first time you could go?
1990 was the first time I went.
1990 was the first time my wife could go in the pits, and I'd been racing since 67, and
Yeah.
we'd been married since 73. So, but now everybody, I mean, when you go through the pits, you got to really watch little kids and
Yeah.
dogs and cats and you name it. Everything.
Everyone.
Chickens, roosters. We just shaved our sheep. They might be showing up to the track. So
There you go.
Getting them ready.
So Jeff, when's the next race you're gonna walk into? You counting it down?
Right. The next race I'm going to run is May 31st at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. It's a must-see racing. That's what must-see is with wings.
Awesome. Berlin, Michigan, May 31st.
Yep.
Right by Labor Day.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to be all ready to roll?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as long as I don't run into something on the race car that I'm not expecting,
So who do you got for a crew? Who goes with you?
My wife. Honestly,
Family sport.
That's awesome.
She does the tire stagger for me, and she does the fuel.
Yeah.
And then I can concentrate on springs and, changing to make the car handle,
Yep. It's neat because when my son races in Wisconsin all last year, we ran 32 nights with him, and we were planning on running 38, but we had some rain dates. But it's me, my wife, son, she spots, and then it is so it's me, my wife, my son races, and then we got Uncle Roger that goes, and Roger just jacks the car up, puts the jacks underneath, and Roger's in his 70s.
Sure.
Wouldn't miss it for the world. So I guess we got a surprised guest that wants to talk to you, and he's going to be live on here. And is he on there? I'm just going to let him introduce himself.
Okay. I see.
Do you know who's on there?
Is this Tony? Oh, how are you doing, bud? Good. I got it. You didn't text me your schedule yet.
Stewart, and I am the world's worst keeper of a schedule. I think I finally just had to give in and get married, so I had somebody responsible enough to manage me in my schedule. So Leah does a great job with that.
Yeah, and I figured Leah would be able to do that for you.
Well, she just has an extra variable in the equation that we have not had until November of last year, and
No kidding.
Instead of taking care of a 53-year-old kid, now she has a 53-year-old and a 8-month-old son to take care of.
Right. Believe me. And that's why I want to get you scheduled, because we want to get together and see you, little boy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're excited. We've got 3 events under our belt this year with NHRA, and things are starting to come around. And
well, I saw last weekend looked better.
Way better. So at least the car's setup isn't like a ping pong ball that's bouncing from side to side right now. It's at least going down the racetrack, and now we have the opportunity to really, I guess, try to dial it in and just get it a little quicker. But at least it has consistency. It's just not as fast as we need it to be right now, but we're gaining on it.
The biggest thing, I mean, we watch it every weekend when we can, when you're running, and biggest thing I could see, you had better traction this time. You weren't blowing the tires loose.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing. I mean, it doesn't matter how good or how bad the track is. It's with almost 12,000 horsepower now. It's super easy to turn the tire loose on the starting line. So it's this whole game is 6 disc clutch and managing all that power through all 6 discs of the clutch to get it to
Right.
go down 1,000-foot run.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I mean, I've never really done anything that powerful on it. I mean, I've drag raced a few times, but but with what you're doing, you can watch it and see. I understand the mechanics of it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably been one of the frustrating parts as far as last season was concerned, because my wife Leah drove the car
Yeah.
up till last year and took last year off to start our family, and
Yep.
the year before she finished third in world championship points
Sure.
and literally came down to the last run to win. And but
Mhm.
last year I get in the car and we finished ninth in points, didn't win a race. Had a couple appearances in the final round, but never really had a shot, really, I don't think, to win the
Right.
race.
Sure.
I think it's hard for the people in the stands to realize that they think that you're just pushing on the gas too hard, and it's really
Yeah.
not the case. It's a
Right.
tuner's game more than it's a driver's game. So
Right. Oh,
literally
absolutely.
90% of the things that made me good in sprint car racing don't even apply to what we do at the
Right.
drag car.
Exactly.
There's
Right.
that
Yep.
occasional run on race day where it shakes the tires or spins the tires, and the other competitor does the same thing, and you get a chance to pedal it and
To
get the
pedal
tire
it and
back under
catch
you
up.
and get the gas
Yep.
going. And but
Yep.
it just doesn't happen very often. But that's when all the other years of experience and all the other cars, that's when that comes into play finally.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, I can see, like I said, you can see it. Yep. Cool.
Well,
So
Tony, this
where
is
do you run? Where do you run
Oh,
next?
we run not this weekend, but the following weekend in Las Vegas at the four wide. So
Oh,
we've got
oh, the four
this is
wide. Yeah.
the two races of the year that I really look forward to. A lot of the drivers and even some of the fans don't necessarily like the four wide as much, but I like it because it just kind of has the feeling of what Jeff and I used to do on a weekly basis of, it feels like heat races. So you
Racing.
start the
Yeah.
first round,
Real
you don't
racing.
have to win it. You just have to finish in the top two to go to the next round. But, then when you get in the finals, though, those first four cars are going to finish in the first four spots. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to be the fastest to advance to the next round. You just got to be faster than two of the other cars. So
Right.
it's
Yep.
that's an
And
aspect I
almost
like.
always, yeah, when I've watched it, almost always somebody blows the tires loose. One of the
Yeah,
four.
and I think it just puts extra pressure on them instead of having to race one guy and it's a coin
Yes.
toss whether that guy gets down the racetrack. Now you got three guys that you're running against, and all of
Yeah.
you are running for two spots. So I think it puts the pressure on the tuners
Sure.
to press and get the cars down the track. But I think at the same time, it's kind of a psychological game where I think you can psych yourself out and feel like you've got to press harder than you have to get it down. And
Oh
like you
yeah.
said, every run, it seems like somebody has some sort of an issue and doesn't get down the racetrack. So,
Right.
sometimes it's not about being the fastest car down there, but it's having a more predictable car that you know could get down the racetrack.
Consistent. Yeah. Hey, what is your average light? You know?
I just saw that the other day.
Mm.
I think it was an 078 maybe was the
Gotcha.
average for last year on race day.
Was it? Yeah. I just wondered.
And that's something that honestly this year, we went down to Bradenton, which was a non-NHRA sanctioned race the week of the Super Bowl, and had a lot of trouble with our car. Literally in 5 days that we were there at the track with testing in the race, of 14 runs, it only made it down the track 3 of the 14 runs.
Oh
So
my moly.
really discouraging. The guys brought the cars back to Indy before we went back to Gainesville for the first NHRA race,
Sure.
and really yard sailed the clutch program. And but we came down to Gainesville, and the car was way more consistent, was getting down the racetrack. Even if we felt like we missed something in the tune-up or the setup of it, it would still go down the racetrack and have a reasonable run. So
And finish.
uh,
Right. Yep.
and I told the guys after not only the Gainesville race, but after we went to Phoenix, I told our team, I said, listen, I said, I normally haven't practiced on a practice tree. And that's something my wife Leah does a lot. I just never, she really didn't encourage me to do it. She never discouraged me from doing it, but she said, your lights are pretty good. You don't, you just don't. Sometimes you can get it as a driver, you can get down a rabbit hole of trying to make yourself better. And if you get frustrated on a practice tree at home or in the hotel room at night in between, the races and everything, it's easy to get backed up the wrong direction. So, we really haven't worked on it that much, but I told our guys after the Phoenix event, our car is more consistent. And, we had an average, we were fifth in average last season at the end of the year with the top fuel class. So I told our guys, I said, listen, you guys are doing a great job. The car is going down the track. And I said, there's 4 guys ahead of me on reaction time average that I want to catch up to. So we're putting in work now and trying to make ourselves better as a driver of, cutting a better light. And, it's just a game of inches, literally, and thousandths of a second. I told Jeff and Linda, this is a sport where, we used to worry about tenths of a second in the sprint car. Now what we're doing in drag racing, we're worried about hundredths of a second. So it's literally about moving that decimal point over 1 on how important it is to us on time. But it's just fractions of time now that you're searching for. So if I can gain 200ths average on the tree, that is a huge difference on the racetrack. So
at the other end,
time for me to do my part now and try to do what I can to make it better. But I'm excited that Jeff's getting ready to start his season. And obviously when I started in USAC way back in, well, we joke around and say 1900 shit, but it was a long time ago. But Jeff was one of the guys that really was an inspiration to me and a great teacher that helped me understand not only how to drive a pavement sprint car, but also just kind of the etiquette involved in it too. I mean, I ran with different dirt groups and USAC pavement racing was quite a bit different as far as how you drove around each other and the etiquette involved in it. And, Jeff's been a mentor to so many guys that I think that's why we all love still seeing Jeff and Linda at the racetrack and racing and competing. And like Jeff mentioned, I mean, Linda is a one-man band, so to speak. I mean, she can sit there and if she had to do it all, she could do it all. But it's nice that they have the ability to split the duties up between literally 2 people, which is extremely hard to do with any race team in any form of motorsports, to be competitive and be able to just have a somewhat of a skeleton crew number wise. But, the thing that people don't factor in is how much talent and knowledge and years of experience that Jeff and Linda have, not only independently, but together doing it. So, I mean, I've been there, I've watched them yell and scream at each other, and it's not because they're upset with each other. It's just they're upset with situations and they got to get a lot of love. Sometimes that yelling is the communication it needs for them to get the job done.
Yep. Race day love. Well, Tony, this is Frank. I can't thank you for enough for being on with us here. Listen to the story with Jeff. And just looking at his career. Actually, Jeff, me and you, Tony, we raced each other at Madison Speedway at Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, and Super Late. I was up there with the Culver's car. And you used to walk up to me and say, Frank, your car makes me hungry.
Yeah. I eat a lot sometimes. Those are probably some of the toughest cars I ever ran. I never was really very good in a pavement late model. I had a really good run in Randy Sweet's car, and super late model race at Berlin. That was a really big deal to me to A, win a race at Berlin, and B, to be able to run for Randy Sweet and drive his car and win the race with him. So, but that's really was about the extent of my late model experience and success. I think we won one of Denny Hamlin's events that he had at Richmond in a late model. So, but that was kind of the highlights of my pavement late model career. I really didn't do much in them. Wasn't very good.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I've ever done with the short tracks up there. And I want to congratulate you and your wife on Dominic. I always say your whole life, you go through life and we're racers, right? And until you have your own child, I always say as a father, I didn't become a man until I had a child. That's what I always say. We're pretty damn selfish until we have a baby. And right now, Dominic is so, and he needs his mom, and then there's that time when he's 1 years old and can't wait to see Dad walk through the door. And I can't wait for that for you. I just hear me. I'm down here in Lakeland, Florida now. I'm from Wisconsin, and and I'm chasing my son around over here at the GTR Ranch, and I can't thank you enough for being on with us. I think Jeff, same with me. I just his career and his story is so awesome. We could spend hours talking to him. And Tony, just listen to you two talk like that. It's just fun. That short track racing, that's what it is at its finest. It's families getting together, coming to the tracks and making things work to get there. And I just, yeah, neat stories. But I've been watching you drag race. I watch you trying to park a car at Cletus's factory.
A little unconventional style of parking cars, but very entertaining nonetheless. It's if him and I kept doing that together much longer, we were going to have to buy a tire store, because we were going through tires quicker than we could switch them out.
I thought I was watching and I said, nowadays we're YouTube, everything's on YouTube, right? You can watch anything on YouTube. And I got on there, and here's Tony Stewart sliding her backwards with a little shit box going in parking.
Well, I used to do that, but it used to be my shit box that I was driving around, and that was my daily driver. But yeah, it's fun to get in somebody else's stuff and tear their equipment up and be able to get out and go, man, I'm really sorry about that, but I got to go back over to the track and finish testing today. So
were you guys drifting? Is that what you're doing?
Well, Cletus McFarland, he is half owner in the drag strip there, and then he has the oval at that facility, and Lee and I went to dinner with him and his wife, and he's a great guy, super good guy. I consider him a friend of ours now, and I actually went and tested the day after the Super Bowl with the alcohol team that I drove for a couple of years ago full time,
Sure.
and so Cletus texts me and says, "Hey, Leah's got a package," and so I just and we were in between our last two runs that we were making for the day, and I just sent him a message and said, well, just tell me where to go pick it up at, because I know boxes had got dropped off at the oval and some at the drag strip and this and that. So it was just trying to figure out where I needed to go. And so he sends me the address where to go, and it's not even on the property, but it's down the street, and it's where his shop is. And so I get there, and he's out there, and he's got his guys are outside, and they got a camera crew, and was trying to figure out what has he got going on here. And he had told me about, when we went to dinner, he was telling me about the Park the Spark deal that he was doing, and a little Chevy Spark. And literally, when it was in the spot, I think it had 1 inch or 2 inches on both sides of the tire to get it in that parking spot correctly. But you literally come down the driveway that goes to his shop. It makes a 90-degree corner into this big open area, but he literally had it chalked off and coned off. And every day was sitting there trying to figure out how to slide that thing in there and get it parked in between the lines. And I think the first attempt we made, we got 2 of the 4 tires inside the lines. And I said, that's probably as good as it's going to get. I'm probably not going to do a better job. And sure enough, the next run I missed and blew a tire out and all that, and it was over. But he does a lot of fun things that are outside the box. He's got millions of followers on social media, and he's a great promoter. He has Jeff and I, at least one of my favorite places was Indianapolis Raceway Park, and he's got an event there that we ran last year. We were racing the alcohol car again, oddly enough, and they had a race with Crown Victorias on the oval. So I got invited to go do that, and because of qualifying, I didn't get a chance to practice or qualify the car, and started at the back and 100-lap race with just stock Crown Victorias. So it was actually a lot of fun, probably one of the most fun races I think I had all year, and mainly because there just wasn't any pressure around it. It's like you ultimately at the end of the day didn't care how you finished. You just wanted to have fun racing with a bunch of guys. And so we had a blast, and I told him while we were down in Florida I was going to do it again. So I miss oval racing. I think the great thing is we're kind of get a chance, because NHRA owns IRP. Have a couple events where Doug Coletta and myself, and I think Erica Enders, JR Todd, we're going to drive Focus Midgets at an event there before the U.S. Nationals. So I'm looking forward to get back in an open wheel car on a track that really means something to me.
Sure. Sure.
We
That's
got a
cool.
we got a car here at Lakeland that so we have all pro late model, super late model asphalt cars, Tony, and we got a super mod from the East Coast with about a 980 horsepower. And my son's going to race it for the first time. But I was wondering, would you want to come up here and show him how to run this thing at Berlin, Michigan? We got a race coming up. It's a brand new car we're putting together. But when first time I ever seen him was at Oswego, New York. We raced an ASA Tour race there, and I laughed because we're out there with crate engines wrapping a chip. And then here comes these big black super mods with the motor sitting to the left. And I seen them on Stock Car Magazine. Jeff, me and you were talking about that, right? Don't even have Stock Car Magazine anymore.
No.
and I just said that was the coolest car I've ever seen in my life as a guy that builds race cars. And then Grant's building one right now that we're putting together. And yeah, Kendrick's gonna get to race it. They run them winged and no wing. But Tony, you ever get to race one of them things?
I have. I think the first time I drove one was actually at the Copper Classic, which is ultimately not the best place to run your first super modified race. But I think the second year I ran the car there at the Copper, we were quick time, and I think if I remember right, going off of the IndyCar times, my time for the pole of the Copper Classic race would have put me, I think, 10th in the IndyCar field that year. So I don't know if we could have stayed there, but I don't know if the tires would have held on like the IndyCar tires do. But man, for one lap though, you could rip around there, and to sit there in a car that the motor's sitting behind the left front tire and off to the side, and the cars have so much offset. You sit there and go, how do these things get around the racetrack like they do? But all that left side weight it helps the left front turn the car. It helps the left rear of the left rear of the car drive the corner off, or drive the car off the corner. And they are really, really neat machines. But they're science projects for sure, because there's a lot of math involved. And anytime you're making changes, why you're doing it, how it affects the other three corners of the car, and just definitely a unique animal to try to figure out.
Yeah, even with the wing, I just having it sitting here, and I mean, I've never dealt with one, but they got a decent notebook here. Grant works on them and does it. So we're like Kendrick, my son's 17 years old. He weighs 100 pounds. He's about 5 foot nothing. He's gonna wheel that thing, but he's a heck of a wheel. Last year he won 9 features up in Wisconsin, but this is something new for him, and making that opening stretch to do something and start out go-karts, went to Legends and late miles. So we're excited about doing it. But Tony, if you ever want to drive that thing, you get a hold of Jeff. We'll get together. This thing rips, and it's very well put together. I can't believe all the fuel cells in them and all the levers and valves and man.
Well, I think that I had an offer to run Little 500 this year, and I've had an offer to go run some wing sprint car races, and this is the part where I'm embarrassed, because this is how much of a badass Jeff is. I mean, Jeff's a little bit older than me, a couple years older than me, and can get in a race car and go run a 500 lap feature and barely break a sweat. I'm so out of shape as far as being race fit. It is insane. To do anything like that again, I would have to get to a gym and do what I absolutely hate more than anything in the world, and actually work out to get back to being race fit to drive something like that.
I'm 53 years old. I'm hearing you all the way. I was a racer. I ran 70 nights a year, traveled all over the country, and I'm happy where I'm at. And I'm hearing you 100%.
I think as long as you're doing it, I never worked out. I mean, and I don't think Jeff really had to either. I mean, we raced so much that was our workout. But I wasn't going to go run a mile down the street without being winded. But guys that could sit there and run half marathons or full marathons couldn't get in a race car and couldn't make it halfway through the race without being tired. But it's just what we did. So that was our form of working out, and that's why we don't say we're gym fit. We're race car fit. We're race fit. And so, but when you start changing from driving cars that you're driving for 3.5 hours to cars that you're running for 3.5 seconds, you don't get that workout in the car like you're used to. So it's I'm noticing that my fitness and my stamina are starting to slip a little bit.
I
Yeah,
look
but
for like,
you are getting older, Tony.
I am. My wife doesn't seem to think so. She still thinks she's married to a 14-year-old right now. So
Ah,
Well,
that's
there's a
okay.
difference in. Never
we
mind.
have the same wife.
yeah, she's bless her heart, man. Like I say, she's taking care of two kids, one that legitimately needs help and the other one that shouldn't need help, but ironically somehow needs help. So she does a great
Yeah.
job with us. She keeps
We're
us in
blessed to
line.
have wives like that. Let me tell you, I call them awesome racer wives.
Yep, for sure.
Well, and
Not everybody has them.
it's a unique challenge when you race, when your wife is also a race car driver.
Yeah.
So I think it
You don't ever
makes our bond a little more unique, and Jeff and Linda have that. I mean, they've raced together for so long, but for Leah and I mean, I can talk about a run and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. I mean,
Sure.
practical
Yeah.
knowledge knows
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about and vice versa. So I think that's one of the things that we enjoy in our relationship. And the fact that, especially this year having Dominic now and literally, I mean, he has not missed a race. He's been at every race we've been to.
Yep.
There's no plans for him to miss a race, but it's great for us to be able to race as a family. And I got to see that firsthand with Jeff and Linda and the girls years ago, and how much fun we
Yep.
all had together being on the road. And it's just a big family. Jeff and Linda became a part of our family, and still to this
Yeah.
day. I mean, if I get a chance to run at Fort Wayne with the midget, we all go and we make sure we at least have breakfast one morning together on our way to the track. And it's just those relationships that you have in motorsports that you cherish. And I don't think in your early years all you care about racing and trying to win races and going to the next one to try to do it again. And I think as you start getting a little older, you start appreciating the friendships and the relationships that much more that go along with that. But it's there were a lot of times that I would have a bad week or two, and Jeff and Linda would let me stay on the floor when we were around their area and stay on the floor of the house. And, didn't charge me anything. Linda fed me, which was great. I mean, God, free meal and a roof over your head for a night. I mean, that's not something everybody has the luxury of getting.
And then you had to
Yeah.
put up with Jenny when she thought you moved her out of the bed, and it was actually Eric Gordon that did. She wanted to beat you up the next morning.
Yeah, there was a couple trips where a lot of us racers were all staying in the house together, and I mean, you can imagine how tormented Jeff had to be. I don't think it was so bad for Linda, but for Jeff to have 3 daughters and have all these race car driver guys hanging around in his house. But the one thing that we all knew is Jeff was big enough and strong enough and tough enough that we all knew better than to do anything on the line, to go anywhere that was the wrong area. But yeah, I didn't kick anybody out of the bed on the floor. I was on the bed. I was on that floor. So I chalked off my spot early.
Yep.
Or in the motorhome. The one time you tucked on the front dash of the motorhome somewhere. I don't remember where we were at.
Gosh, yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, there's been enough concussions happen in my career that's taken a lot of those memories away. But luckily, there's enough people that still remember, that tell the stories, and you laugh about it because it does bring back some really cool memories. And
Yep.
I tell everybody my journey through motorsports and getting to the IndyCar and NASCAR level, and now we're drag racing, and we've been with the World of Outlaws, and but all those bigger doesn't mean that it's always better. I think the most fun I had in motorsports was when I raced in USAC and got to race with Jeff and Linda, and got to race with Bob East and Glenn Nibel and Steve Chrisman and a bunch of people that I started with. And that was probably when I had the least amount of money in my life, but I had the most fun because of the people that I was around, and all the experiences we got to do together.
That was
awesome to
great
hear.
racing too. That was great racing back then.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't think
relationships.
technology had taken over quite as much then. I think it was. I think what I appreciated about that time in motorsports is it wasn't a computer telling you what to do. It was
Right.
it
Exactly.
was literally
Yeah.
people that had ideas in their head and felt something that the car did and said, "I think it needs this," and they just would make the change. They didn't have to go to a computer simulation or go to a shock dyno
Right.
to figure it out. They just knew they needed a stiffer shock. They put it on there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and figured out how to adjust it. So
Yeah.
I think
Change the
those,
fuel system, whatever. Right.
yeah,
Now we have a $13,000 machine and $55,000 in shocks and springs, and just to,
Yep.
to tell us what to do. one thing in racing, I just listen to you two, is relationships. I say this all the time. Mine is Gene Coleman Racing Products. Anytime I race, he would call me immediately after the race, didn't matter how late it was. And, and Gene's up there, 80, can't get to the track anymore. And I miss him to death at the track, but that's the stuff that, relationships in this business, you can't replace it. People don't get it that don't race. I don't get it. I don't know what to do if I quit racing. I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to tell people that aren't deeply involved in motorsports, as far as, it's one thing to be a race fan, but you don't truly understand what the schedule's like and the travel and service the cars in parking lots of hotels and this and that. But I guess for people that have, anybody that's been to college and ended up in a fraternity or sorority, I mean, that's kind of what it's like. I mean, once you become a member of the racing family, there's a lot of different genres of motorsports. I mean, I didn't know anything about drag racing until I met Leah. And, but even when I got involved and started hanging around, it's like the drag racing world embraced me as one of their own, just because racers are racers. It doesn't matter what form you come from, you all support each other. And it's been a great experience going to NHRA. I was not having fun where I was at, and had the opportunity to do what I've done multiple times in my career and try something totally outside the box and something totally different. And I love those challenges. I like trying new things and trying to figure out how to be successful. And there's always somebody that says, oh, he's not going to figure that out. And that is what drives me more than anything, to prove people wrong and say, I can figure this out. I'm not, if you look at me, I don't look very smart, but I can figure stuff out pretty well at times.
Well, that's the cool part about racing. It's engineering. It's everything. The decision that you make when you step into the car to go out on a racetrack, you've changed things and you're hoping you're doing the right thing. If you don't, you learn from that, and the next time you don't do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of trial and error back in the day, and I remember, talking to Suzanne Stapp, and she was talking about the first Beast chassis got drawn on a concrete floor with chalk. And that's how they figured out how they were going to build that chassis and the design of it. And literally it went from a chalk outline on a garage floor to being one of the most popular pavement racing chassis of all time. So it's just neat to see how things have evolved. I don't think technology is always the best thing for us. I think there's a lot of things that makes our lives easier and better. But I think I appreciate the days of knowing really smart, intelligent people that did all the work in their heads, and the drivers that were brave enough to sit there and go, a crew chief would go, I made this change and you might want to sneak up on it and see what it feels like. Well, you didn't go rifle it off in the corner right away the first time. You took it easy till you kind of had some confidence in what you had. But it definitely wasn't a computer telling you what to do, and it wasn't telling those drivers that it was going to be okay. You literally had to trust the guys working on it and making the calls. You had to have the confidence and the balls to go out there and feel it out and push it to its limit and figure out whether it was better or worse.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's one thing I noticed with my kid. So here's my son at 17, and Tony and Jeff, Kendrick's a hands-on. So like when he first started wanting to do late model, I said, well, first thing I'm going to tell you, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it with me. Otherwise I ain't doing it, and he built his own car, like complete. He would not let me touch it. But what I noticed with the younger generation, they're so into software and computers, and Kendrick come from that iRacing world at 8 years old and came into it. It's crazy how that level comes in, and it's just different. And so he makes me see a different level. And I said, it's pretty sad that we're almost using AI now to dial these cars in, but that AI is still someone's technology that put it out there. It just doesn't come up with it. It's he's on that. He really looks at that, and then of course I'm dad, right? I'm the guy that chalked it up on the floor and said, this is what we're going to build. Cause I use an old car and I build my own spindles, uppers, lowers. I'm that guy. And Kendrick is afraid to walk up to dad and say, hey Dad, maybe we should move this here because this is what I think. And I love that about them. And I have a very rare one. I really do. I'm lucky to have them. And I can't wait to one day, Tony, when your child is at that point and just because they always say your son is where you left, where you left off, or your daughter, it's where your child starts where you left off. And it's just weird to say that, but I see that. But I can't wait for that when that happens. And you get it, Jeff, right? You've got daughters and just
Yeah.
watch them succeed and to do that.
Yeah. The only thing is I got daughters and none of them really won the race.
You lucky
Well,
son.
they went to the races enough times and we saw
Our young-
several friends get killed at the racetrack and they pretty much said, no, they didn't want to do it.
Well, and that's part of it. I mean, it's part of the sport. I think that's one of the things we see with these kids that do the iRacing now. And, we've heard Kyle Larson talk about it when it comes to the shootout and the Chili Bowl down in Tulsa. It's,
Sure.
these kids get on a computer and they start sim racing. And, if they crash a car, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost them anything. They just hit a button on the steering wheel and it gives them a brand new car in the pits and they go out and drive again. But
Right.
I see a lot of etiquette that we've lost. I mean, I didn't see it, but I heard about the end of the Xfinity race at Martinsville and just how much of a travesty that was. But I think what we see is a lack of respect down of the drivers now because they come up in that era of iRacing and that they don't own the cars. They just know that they want to win a race and they're willing to dispose of somebody to do it. And it's kind of always been around. I mean, Dale Earnhardt was a master of it. There's a lot of guys that were really good at it. They didn't have to just crash each other to do it. They could move a guy out of the way. I mean, we're the winningest indoor driver in the history of midget racing at indoor races. And Jeff's been around there long enough. I mean, I can move a guy out of the way and indoors it's physical. I mean, if a guy just hugs the bottom, it's almost impossible to drive around the outside of somebody, but you can sit there and you can take a guy and you can nudge him here or there without just having to drive through him to move him out of the way. I always waited till I found the weak spot, whether a guy's car was really tight or whether his car bicycled, if there was a lot of rubber on the track and the cars were trying to tip up, or if a car was loose, I would find that weakness in their lap, and then I would try to use that for my advantage. But I didn't have to spin guys out and crash guys to do that. I could just nudge them out of the way and go around and go on our business.
Tony, they need to build their cars. They need to build the equipment that you're racing with, and they're right, Tony. You guys know there's respect in building it. And these kids now, they rent rides, jump into them. And I always say, and I'm not cutting on NASCAR in this, but thank you, NASCAR, for killing it in short track racing. Because nowadays in Wisconsin, we invert, 15, 6, it was always 8 plus the dice roll. And we come from the back for the fast car. And down here, they put them on the pole and the guy's faster, you just move them. And I struggle with it so much in the short track world. And it shouldn't be here because this chases people away. Because how these families afford these cars when you got a billionaire over there throwing his kid in a race car, and he just like the iRacing thing that Tony said there, just it's a tough deal.
You see it all the time now.
There is a positive with the iRacing side too. I think what it has done and what I've seen, especially in the micro ranks, you get a lot of younger guys that learn how to tune a chassis. They learn what to do with the shocks. They learn what to do with the springs. There really wasn't that avenue unless you worked for a team and were friends with the crew chief and learned that way. And there were a lot of guys that came up that way, but I really believe that there's a lot of guys out there that love to iRace, but they aren't going to have the opportunity to drive a real race car. But their buddy does. Their buddy down the street, and they're iRacing with them all the time. And there's, for every one of those kids that's racing a micro, there's 2 kids that are helping crew chief the car and know exactly what the changes need to be. And I think that's something with iRacing that's really a positive, is we're able to give not only them the opportunity to live out their dream of driving cars, but we're also able to take iRacing and groom new crew guys and young crew chiefs that way too.
Yeah. That's what Kendrick started at, 7, 8 years old on that. And that's where, we had, so we homeschooled them. So we had the iRacing rig in the race shop in the office part. And he would be in there and then he'd go, Papa, I need help adjust on my car. And then when he started doing it on his own, and then the next thing that happened, he picked it up, right? Like when you were at the track, he would talk turning the spring load. He called it a perch because in iRacing it was a perch. We couldn't either think, what the hell is he talking about? Like load but he gets it. And that's why I said there's a part of that that's so good where these kids are picking up on that. And Kendrick is a teacher in the iRacing world. He has his little teams out there. They're all over the country. Went to North Carolina one time to a race, or Florida to a race and everybody jumps out. Oh, Kendrick's here. And I'm like, 19 kids walked up and how the hell do they know my kid? Here it's all iRacing world.
Sure.
Just a different, there is such a positive to it too, for sure. But yeah, I can't thank you guys being on here. Tony, biggest memory with Jeff in your career?
Oh God. Honestly, I think it was one of the trips that we got to go up to Jeff and Linda's house, and they had a 4-wheeler track, a high bank dirt track out there, which dirt was my passion. The pavement really wasn't my passion near as much as dirt was. And but I just didn't have an opportunity early in my sprint car career to drive a dirt car. But I remember we went up there and obviously, like I said, a bunch of us racers all up there together and having a great time. But I mean, I was a young, early 20s, and I liked sleeping in the morning, liked being up late at night. And I remember, as soon as the sun came up and you could see the track, there's already 4 guys down there already running 4-wheelers around the next morning. And then we're sitting there and we're unbolting wheels. And if the wheels would bolt on somebody else's quad, we're bolting smaller left rears on them to get stagger. And we're doing the same things we would do with a real race car. We were doing that with 4-wheelers, trying to figure out how to make 4-wheelers faster, and just a bunch of grown adults having a blast. But that was the fun thing with Jeff and Linda, is that they never shied away from having a lot of people over. And I think that was kind of one of my best memories with them, was just being able to be at their house. And I knew Jeff liked to deer hunt, and he deer hunted around there, so it was nice to see the area he got to hunt in, and hang out with Jeff and Linda and their family, and just all of us racers to be around each other like that was a blast.
Yeah, it was awesome. A mini Eldora.
Very small Eldora for sure, but and you had to hustle too. You couldn't wimp around it. To get around there right, you had to be on the go. Get it turning.
Yep.
You remember racing with Dave Steele?
A little bit. Dave and I got to run some, but I think when Dave and I really got running with each other was when I'd already started my IndyCar and NASCAR journey. So I wasn't running full time and didn't get to run all the time with Dave. But, Dave had pretty much been running in Florida. And then when he came up to run the USAC stuff more full time, I'd already started moving on. But man, Dave was, you talk about somebody that had a niche. Dave's forte was those wing sprint cars on pavement. He was so good in them, and he was good in any kind of a pavement car. He definitely was a pavement guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jeff, what I got to do is I'm going to send Kendrick up by you for a couple weeks and get him in the dirt world. I know nothing about the dirt world. I've been on asphalt. I'm not even kidding you, since 1983. And just nothing but oval track. I got into super lates, and that's what I did at home, and that's what I got him in. But we did the go-karts and legend cars, but we always wanted to do dirty. Ran a dirt go-kart race one time because we rained out on asphalt, and they sent them up there, and the guy goes, "I'm gonna do your tires. I'll have the motor ready for you." And the first thing my son did was drove it off the end of turn 3, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "It won't turn." I go, "You got to lift, little man. You got to pitch." He ended up second that race. Because he was undefeated on asphalt, never lost a race on asphalt ever in a go-kart, but he ended up second. He figured it out. And that was the only time we ever raced on dirt with him. But, a lot of guys tell me, we got to get your kid on dirt. But when you own 3-4 late models, and when the hell do we get time to do dirt? But I want it. I'm a huge fan of it. I really am. I'm a Davenport fan. Like I said, I'm definitely dirt late models. Like I go to Volusia every year for speed weeks. I try to go over there and watch. And I'm a race fan, period, but dirt's never where I got into. That was my world was asphalt. So it was hard to do it. But I want my kid in at one time to try, to see if that's what he likes, but right now here at the
I think the
GTR
dirt
ranch,
stuff's
we're
important. I think it's one thing. I feel like we see drivers that come from dirt to pavement have more success doing both than drivers that go from pavement to dirt.
yeah,
And I think it's just, I think you learn car control because you're on dirt. You've always got the car out of shape. I mean, you're turning it with the throttle, you're sliding the car around. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys that just don't feel comfortable with a loose car that are pavement guys. And, dirt guys, that's what you run the majority of the time is a loose race car. So I think it teaches them car control. And once you teach them that they can't run on the ragged edge like you do a dirt car all the time because you have to take care of your tires, I think it makes guys that have a dirt racing background, I don't know if it necessarily gives them an advantage, but I think it definitely shortens the learning curve of going from dirt to pavement versus the other way around.
yeah. No, ours was, I felt legend cars. Them things were, I don't know if you ever raced one of them things, but a legend car, they're scrappy, short wheelbase. And then I remember we put him in that for a couple of years. He was really good, but you had the same thing. You had to learn to keep the thing underneath them. But yeah, that's what we'll do, Jeff. We'll get Kendrick up by you.
We call that the Bloom Boot Camp.
Yeah.
There we see. I said this motocross guy's got camps. You're talking about the 4-wheelers in the backyard. I'm like, here's the camp you're starting. This is
There you go. Yep.
That can be his retirement.
that. Well, this is awesome. I can't. Thank you for coming on our show for sure. Right? We're just a short, we talk short track racing every week on Wednesdays,
And speaking of short track, Tony, when's the next race at Eldora?
Oh God, I'm a terrible promoter because somebody asked me that yesterday, and I didn't.
Horrible with schedules.
Where's
I could
Leah?
not remember.
Yeah, where's Leah? We got to talk to your wife.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the opening date, but I got photos sent to me from Rob that does our track, and our sheep's foot was starting to show some wear and tear on the cleats, and he showed me some photos today of the new cleats going on our sheep's foot roller, and he goes, these will not dent, they're solid. So it's I'm pretty excited about that. I think I don't know how many. I guess it was probably when I bought Eldora that I really got passionate about learning how to do track prep, and
Sure.
so that's one of the aspects of it that as a driver, I mean, not a lot of drivers know how to do track prep, but they know what they want. They know what they need the track to be like. So, I felt like that was one of the advantages I had. I just needed to learn how to do it, but I always knew what the drivers needed for the surface to be right. And then, when we bought Eldora, and the two things you don't see me during a weekend is on the track is a water truck and a grader, because that's two things you can really screw a racetrack up really quick. But, I think the fun thing for me is, every night when we have to work the track at the end of the night, if there's soft spots in it or if there's holes that have developed, being able to fix them overnight. And there's a lot of people that, just when you get problem spots, it takes weeks to sometimes get it worked out of them. And our guys, if we have spots that show up in the racetrack, the guys that do the track prep on a weekly basis, they see me coming and they start cringing because they know we're going to have a long night. And there's a lot of nights that we literally have worked till the sun came up the next day, having an event the next day. But I know the car owners and the drivers and the fans appreciate it when we put that kind of work into it and make it better and make it nice for the next night. So that's what I enjoy now.
And it's crazy seeing the difference between the amount of work that goes into a dirt racetrack and prepping it versus an asphalt. I think that's something a lot of people just watching don't know.
Yeah, I mean, pavement tracks, I mean, for the majority of them, you don't have to do anything. You just have to blow them off and keep them dry. Where, dirt tracks, it's literally a 7-day-a-week job. I mean, you're having to constantly follow the weather of what's going on, because if the sun's out, if it's windy, if the air is dry, you constantly have to be pumping water into the racetrack and getting it to soak down in through the night to have it where you want for the race night. So it's it's definitely a lot more work to prep a dirt track. And the thing about dirt tracks too is that it's constantly going to change. I mean, the track you have at the beginning of the night's not anywhere near what you're going to have at the end of the night. And as we talked about earlier, how technology's changed the landscape of motorsports, the cars are so hooked up that we have to start the track really. We say that it has to die off. It has to slick off as the night goes on. The problem is a lot of these tracks, if we have it too good at the beginning of the night, the heat races aren't good, and it doesn't get good till the very end, where we try to find ways to do the work to where we know it's going to give up during the night, and we might have to take an intermission to revive it a little bit. But we know that when the heat races start, we need to see cars that can pass each other. And if the track's too good, it turns into what we call a dyno session, where guys are just running wide open around there and nobody can pass because of it.
Mhm.
That sounds like farming.
Yeah.
It is, and that's what we say too. That we jokingly say, we got to do a little farming before the A main, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
Hey, Tony,
exactly
your
what we have
first
to do.
race at Eldora is you've got May 2nd and 3rd, the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars. I think we're going to one of them.
Daggone it, I was sitting there looking it up too. I literally pulled it up on my cell phone here. I was like, I'm going to give
That's
them.
what I did.
And seeing Linda's better at it than I am. That's why I have to have adult supervision at all times.
Jeff, you ran the Eldora Million, didn't you?
Oh,
Once.
yeah. Yeah, we were real good there until something broke on the car.
All right, Linda.
It wasn't our car.
Wasn't our car.
It was someone else's. And actually, my son-in-law and I went there on Friday. They'd been working on the car earlier in the week, and we got to the track on Friday, and they had it up on 4 jack stands and had the motor running. And I just kind of walked around the car, and here is the bird cage laying on the left rear, on the axle on the left rear. And I went to the guys. I'm like, there's something drastically wrong there. And they put it back on and everything. But I would bet my last dollar that's what broke. He was running second in the heat race, and it only had about 4 laps to go, I think, of the heat. And went into turn 3 and something broke, and he went like 25 feet in the air and came back down. And that is when it actually crushed the bottom third of his heart. We didn't know it till a few months later, because he kept saying, no, I'm fine. Then he finally got that taken care of. But anyway, that is probably the same thing that broke, I think. I don't know. I don't know if they didn't have the seal in their good or what it was, but that was.
Jeff's always been one of those guys that he could have one arm and one leg ripped off in a crash, and he would say he was fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
And want to get the car fixed before the consi or the A main. So
Yep.
that's just the way it's always been.
Yeah,
My
when he
career
got
ender
hurt,
my career ender was a throttle stock at New Smyrna, and I lost my right eyeball.
Oh, no.
The retina sheared, and then I hemorrhaged the left eye, and then I tried to go back racing because I got one eye, but when you're down to one eye, or if you use that peripheral vision, and that's when I decided I better hang it up. And I mean, I came from 50 to 60 nights of racing a year, so sometimes I always say it's never the Lord is doing that to you, but sometimes I feel like there's a time to slow down and focus on other things, and mine was my kid, so but I don't ever look at it as a bad thing. That was just something that happened, and these things they can hurt you, and this is a risk that we all take. But concussions in this sport, man, how many people that I've met that get marshmallow heads, and it's just part of what we do, and we love to do it, and wouldn't change it for the world. But we do now. When we get older, we got to be a little more safe. Like, think about, all right, we better probably not do that.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the great things technology wise that you don't really hear anybody complaining about is, how the safety aspect of it's got so much better. And, I think the entire racing world will sit there and give Dale Earnhardt Sr. credit for that. I mean, once we lost Dale Sr. and understood what happened there, it really started a movement, and it wasn't just in NASCAR. I mean, IndyCar looked at it. I remember USAC and the World of Outlaws. Everybody was looking at how do we make it safer, because you realize when you got somebody that people consider like Superman, and when Superman dies, I mean that's something that wakes the entire racing community up, and you realize it's not just a fluke deal. So it I think that aspect's come a long way, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about the kids and iRacing too. I mean, I get people every day that want to sit there and talk to me about how great their 10 or 12-year-old kid is. And I'm like, has he ever spent the night in the hospital? And they look at me funny and go, what do you mean? I said,
Yeah.
well, is he ever crashed and had to go stay the night in the hospital because he got hurt? And they're like,
Yeah.
no. I said, well, I'm really not that interested in looking at him yet then. And they
Yeah.
asked me why. I'm like, well, if your kid's been in the hospital a couple days because he got hurt and legitimately got hurt and sat there and thought through that and went back out there after he got healed up and is winning races, then he's somebody I want to look at. But
Amen.
all of us,
Yeah.
when we were kids, rode bikes and, we crashed our bikes, building ramps higher and higher. And then you get to a point where you realize, maybe that's a little too high. And you take a couple bricks out of the top of the ramp and make it a little shorter, and you just have fun the rest of the day. But, until these kids get hurt, they think they're invincible. And yeah, they know that it's not a button they hit on the steering wheel to get a new car, but there's I don't know, no consequences, I guess, to them. It's like they get out, they just get in another car and they go again. But when you ring your bell, like Jeff and I have, and most racers have, before the safety got better, it teaches you to appreciate what's going on out there and the people that you're racing around and why you're doing what you're doing. So I think that's some of what's become part of the etiquette problem, is that the cars are safer, the drivers feel braver in the cars, and they make mistakes that way.
I worked with a lot of young kids. I really have in my career a lot of young kids, and I just been blessed that way. I don't know. I just, after a while, you just say, hey, I'll help this kid out. Next thing you know, every dad in the world's calling you, and you're taking them out racing for season. At one time, I had 5 super lates running in Wisconsin at once with kids in them. And you learn that, like what you're saying, Tony, like you're picking up on which kid. And my biggest thing is the smart kid, right? There's always the smart one that really thought about what was going on. And I felt, man, all right, what's this kid going to do? And then you watch them, and then they were smart, not just smart with a car, but just smart on how they talk to you, how they wanted the performance out of it. But I've had 2 drivers I can just pick off the top of my head that, man, I wonder what they would do, because they were really, really good, but they were smart. They never got themselves in trouble. They'd almost give themselves up, not and get in trouble. And some of them will take that risk and get in trouble, where the other ones would just be like, you know what, I'm not gonna kill myself here. And that to me, when you're building cars, and it was always enjoyable to work with them type, or the other ones, like every weekend you're working on a car.
I think that's the fun part of finding guys like that. And we say they're kind of the diamond in the rough, for, we call them unicorns. I mean, Kyle Larson's that guy in this era.
Yeah.
Kyle's one of those guys that literally you just take him, you drop him in a car and send him off, and he can go figure it out really quick.
Yeah.
And doesn't really think about it.
Kind of like Tony Stewart.
Well, I had to think a little more, because I'm not sure I had the same talent that Larson has. I had to think about it.
Enough, then
Yeah, and that too. I mean, you make enough mistakes and it hurts long enough, you sit there and go, maybe I need to do this a little different. But it is really fun to watch kids like that. And I get a chance every now and then to go, I race a 3/4 midget with my father, who's getting ready, literally the 4th in a couple days here. He's going to turn 87 and still races a 3/4 midget.
Awesome.
So I'll get to go race with him, but I get to race with some 14 and 15-year-old kids that are old enough to start running those cars as well. And it is fun to watch those guys, because you see the guys that just do it, and they're doing it, but they don't really realize what they're doing, but they do okay. And then you realize guys that are young like that you can tell that think about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And you can see a difference in their driving styles. And those are the ones that you really root for, that get an opportunity, because they've got the talent to drive the car, but they also have the talent in their brain to know how to make the right decisions and make the right moves at the right times. And there's times when it's not the right time to make a move, and they're patient and learn how to think through an entire race versus just what's happening in that individual moment in that individual lap.
Yeah. Linda, your dad, didn't he own a newspaper, a race paper?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the Mark Times.
Yeah. See that when you're talking, that's missing. We up home, we had the checkered flag, it was called.
Yep.
It's a lot of that's gone now. I mean, we had
Yeah.
late model
They're all
digest that
gone.
went digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only paper that is a weekly paper to this day is Area Auto, and it's based down of the Northeast, but still covers USAC, still covers World of Outlaws, High Limit, all the late model series, but it's based down of the Northeast, and that's basically the focus of it. But it's literally, I mean, that's one of the things I still to this day I love when the paper comes, and
Sure.
you don't have time to sit there and get on the internet and look and see what everybody's done, but you can get a really good read. And I always tell parents when they're like, "Oh, you got to see my kid," I'm like, well, if he's doing as good a job as you say he is, I'm not going to have to go look at your kid. He's going to be in the paper when I pick my paper up every week. I'm going to
Yep.
see his name over and over and over again. And after a while, when you keep seeing a name pop up that many times, that's when you start looking at these guys. So I don't, a parent telling me how good their kid is doesn't mean crap to me. It's
Nope.
when I
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
results and I see the kid's name in the paper over and over, that's when I
Yep.
know it's the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's up. I said, my family, I'm fourth generation. My son's fifth. That's in this world, that's hard. I mean, we've been racing a long time in my family. Like I said, everything we've done back when they started dirt racing, I always picked on my dad even. I said, yeah, back then spoke wheels and when you guys had leather helmets. That's what's my joke with my dad. But that was actually my grandfather and great grandfather. But yeah, it's with my son, we homeschooled him, so he was in the shop because we had 23 late models that we took care of in our shop, and he was in the shop, working in the shop on the cars, and then he, like I said, to do it, and then even right now he's done with high school early, but he's working down here for GTR Racing full time, and that's like I said, you run these kids, you see them right, but man, the hands-on stuff is so missing, and I remember Matt Kenseth, and he was so hands-on, like I'm just thinking my era, that the guys I knew back then, Robbie Reiser, them guys up there, they were so hands-on, and it's so hard to find that nowadays, and that's why I told Kendrick, you don't even believe what you know to do, and he leads the shop here at 17 years old. It's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's kind of a dying art. I mean, that's, even my time in all the different forms. I mean, I worked on the 3/4 midgets that I drove, and I got an opportunity to drive for Raleigh Hemling, who Jeff Gordon drove for with a Diet Pepsi car. And that was when things for me changed drastically as a driver, because I went to work on the car with the guys, and Raleigh put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, you don't work on the car. He goes, your job's to go up there and watch the racetrack and tell us how much of a change you think you need, for the race. And so instead of being in the pit area working on the race car with the guys, now I'm up, standing at the fence especially at dirt tracks, watching the track change and sitting there going, well, I think we need to take stagger out, or we need to move the right rear end, or need to take rebound out of shocks. Just start sitting there analyzing the racetrack versus sitting there doing the work on the cars. And then you start driving for different teams, and they already got their guys that do the work, so they want to do it. And if you start trying to help, you actually get everybody on a sync, and that's when mistakes get made and things get left loose. So you, at some point, it's like, as much as I wanted to be in that position where I was working on cars all the time, I can't do it now. I can't build a car from scratch. Jeff can do it. I think Linda could probably build a car from scratch if she wanted to at this point. But I couldn't, just because it was my job was to focus on driving the race car and letting the guys know what the racetrack was doing. So it's kind of a dying breed, so to speak, that you have guys that can do both like that. And when you can find somebody that's good at both of those, you definitely want to utilize them.
Yeah. Used to be, I mean, back in the 60s and early in the 70s, most of the guys worked on their race cars, but it's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Man, this has been exciting having you guys on here. I like both you guys raced with AJ Foyt. That's a childhood. I remember that name.
And their
It's
personalities are all pretty close to the same.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And Jeff, I'm sending Kendrick your way in May, so you'll have him for at least 2-3 months. You and Linda will have
3 months. All righty.
I'll set him up there.
Can he-
Send him back
Well,
when he's
yeah, let
either
me
when he's a
ask you,
failure.
can he drive a lawn tractor?
Yeah, that's right. He can. Is it a zero turn?
It's a
He will
zero
by the
turn,
time he
yeah.
ends up with Bloom boot camp. He'll know exactly how he'll know how to drive a tractor, work on a tractor, everything. So.
Yep.
You're he'll probably show up with one of them ones that just automatically do it in the yard and say, how come you ain't got one of these?
Right. Just push the button.
Yeah. But man, Tony, thank you for coming on our podcast with Jeff. What a surprise. For Jeff, I know for sure, but for us too. Linda,
Yeah.
thanks for putting this together.
Yep.
Wonderful. Just love and hear your story. We'll always have you on. Like you've been on, we're just, like I said, here's our 7th podcast. Like I said, the week ago, we had a little over 1,000 people. And then now it's just growing. But Tony, thank you for coming on. And like I said, I've met you a couple times, but you've met so many people, it's hard to catch a face or know someone without seeing them. But thank you
It
for
was an
coming
honor
on
to
and
be on
talking
with you
Jeff.
guys today. And, I've known Jeff and Linda for so long. And when I got the opportunity to do this, there was no way, unless there was something scheduling wise that kept us from it, there wasn't any way we were going to miss the opportunity to do this today and try to surprise Jeff. So, we had Dominic at the end of the year and we didn't get to do our normal Fort Wayne trip. So we'll be trying to find somewhere we can catch up this year and get together and introduce
Yeah, you
him
have
to
to
a new
because
member
he
of the
hasn't
family.
gotten any Grammy kisses yet.
That's right. He's the good thing is Leah's finally growing out of the phase as a new mom of, everything has to be sanitized. I mean, we're now at the part
Oh
where
yeah, you gotta go.
if he drops his pacifier on the floor, we just pick it up, lick it off, and stick it right back in his mouth. It's like,
Oh yeah.
he's gonna be fine now. So
Hey, if you
we
if
were
you
gonna have
pick
to
it
keep
up
him in a
within the
bubble.
first, if you pick it up within the first 3 seconds, there's no problem.
Yeah, well, you forget I may or may not be able to count to 3 consecutively.
Yeah.
Have you been left alone with him yet?
Yeah, this isn't a really good story, unfortunately. I did get trusted with him for what was supposed to be a 2 to 2.5 hour window, and the bassinet that's in our room has a camera and microphone on it, and Leah had went down to an appointment in town, and it was my job to watch him, and we knew he was tired, and it was going to be about time for him to take his nap, and I couldn't get him to take a nap, and it got to where even if I sat down or sat him down, he just went nuclear. And to the point to where Leah literally pulled up the camera to see if he was sleeping, and he wasn't in the camera eye and he wasn't in the bed. And we were in another room and he was screaming so loud that she could hear it and left her appointment in the first 20 minutes and came back.
No.
So it was, for me,
He's
it was
ready for iRacing already.
Oh, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I'm
You
like,
got
I've got
fired
the worst
already.
husband, the world's worst father. And, she, especially when she rolled in, you feel like you're an inch tall. And I told that story to a bunch of guys at the racetrack and they're like, yep, that happened to us multiple times. So you realize you're not on an island on your own, that
Yep.
there's just times when the playbook doesn't work. I mean, I literally, and I don't have a thick playbook of being a dad, but everything that I was told to try and had in my playbook, I had went through all of it and tried to feed
Didn't
him,
work.
tried to put him down, walk him around, everything you can think of, and could not make him happy. So it just was a failure.
And then when she walked in, he probably had a big smile.
He gave her fits too, unfortunately. I think that's the worst day we've had with him, but somewhere in the equation, whatever was going on that wasn't working, I found a way to make it worse to where it just kept going on and on. He's not really that kid. He's one of those that whatever's bothering him, if he's a little bit fussy, he doesn't really cry a lot. But if he fusses a little bit, there's something he wants different, and it's either he's hungry or he's tired or
Get a bellyache.
I'm 100% convinced he's my kid because he gets bored really easy. So if he's playing in his play deal and he does that long enough, and then he'll tell you, I'm over it and I'm ready to do something different. But as soon as you address it, he stops immediately and is back smiling again. So he's easy to read. It's just you wish to God you would think after all these billions of people that have been born in this world, that there would be some kind of quick reference guide or a manual or something to help
Nope.
you through the first.
It's like they
few.
keep it a secret.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
they said, we suffered, you're going to have to suffer too. There's no short.
Sure.
Yep.
Well,
And
it's
then
part
when
of the
you're a
learning
father
curve.
and a baby cries, it's like a father instinct to like, hey, is everything okay? Is what's going on? You know, because when you were before a child, you're just like, shut that kid up. What the?
Yeah, it's one of those situations that I think we somewhat out of habit kind of treat them like race cars. It's like the race car will scream at you when it's unhappy too, and it'll tell you when it
Yep.
doesn't like stuff. But normally we have the ability to stop and fix it. This is
Yep.
one of those where, there's times you're going to do everything right and you just aren't going to fix it. They're just having a
Nope.
bad day. And so
Yep.
when I figured that part out, then it makes it a little bit easier realizing that it's not because I'm that bad. It's just sometimes they just have a bad day like that.
Yep. For sure.
Amen, brother.
Yep.
Man, you guys, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I can't think, we got to do this again. Honestly, Tony, be awesome to have you on here again with us, and in such a way. Like I said, to me, this is real. We talk real stories. This is just real family stories, and there's nothing that we're worried about anything. And this is short track racing. What we talk about, we're trying to help it. We are the future of it. I don't know. The only way to do is talk about it and see where we can head with it and make things happen. And so, Jeff, thank you again. Yeah. You're always an awesome guest with us. And Linda, it was awesome hearing about your story a little bit. We might need a crew chief on one of our cars in a couple weeks here. So
Don't hold your breath. I'm not that good. I just do what he tells me so I don't get in trouble.
But again, Tony, congratulations with the little one. My biggest thing when Kendrick was born was lightning struck me when the child was, out, like from my wife, where when you're pregnant, you think it's great, but until you see your child for the first time, I call it lightning striking. Like that's what happened to me. And Tony, did you have that experience?
I did. I was actually in Pomona racing at the end of the year when I found out she went into labor, and so I literally it was the only race weekend that Leah had not attended, and so we had plans and had everything arranged that if something happened during the race weekend, that literally there's an airport, less than a quarter mile from where our pit was at the racetrack. And so we had the ability to get to the airport, fly to Glendale, Arizona, where Leah was at, and be there for all of it. The only mistake I made during the birthing process was I was like, I am not looking down for anything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I made one mistake and looked down, and all I saw was the tip of ears and a bunch of dark hair. And I'm like, wow, this was that moment you're speaking of, I think. But you just don't know what you don't know, and you know that it can take hours and everything. Well, I'm not sure I did the math right on when you start the timer on all that, but literally it was an hour and 45 minutes, and she delivered, and I remember hearing the doctor go, well, one more set of pushes like that, and you're gonna have a baby, and I'm like, we've only been here about an hour and 10 minutes so far. I'm like, I'm hunkered in here for a 6-8 hour ordeal and pacing myself, and sure enough, it was less than 5 minutes later, and we had a little boy in the world. So, but yeah,
Cool.
it's just crazy when he looks at you and he smiles now when he knows that dad, and when
knows your
told Leah
voice, knows your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. When we were down at Bradenton at the first event, like I said, it was a terrible test and terrible event for us. And at one point I said, I'm going to go back and get a sandwich at the motorhome, and went in there, and he looked up at me and just smiled. And I was so frustrated when I left to go back there. And I told Leah afterwards, I said, we're going to have to get him a salary. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, I went back there all frustrated, and in 5 seconds, I forgot how bad the car was running. I forgot about everything about the last run, and everything was fine. So it was nice to have him there. And I think he's going to play a much larger role on this race team than he thinks he is.
Yep.
So
Cool.
Wait till you come home and they run at you and then hug you. I miss them days so much. Now he's looking out at Dad's here.
well, they keep telling me not to blink because it goes by so fast, and I'm like, I'm trying to be careful what I'm wishing for because he hasn't even rolled over yet, but we have this thing where I can get him standing up, and he likes to pull himself up and stand up, and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's a part of me that's like, I can't wait for this and get him walking around, and then there's part of me that's going, be careful
No,
what you
yeah,
wish for
whoa.
because as soon as it's like
Whoa.
playing a video game and it's level up at that point to where now you're having to baby proof everything, and right now he can't even roll over on his stomach. So wherever he's at, we know he's not going anywhere, but we know that's getting ready to change pretty soon.
Yeah.
You remember when you were at Winchester and you held our first granddaughter when she was 6 days old? And you
Yeah,
thought
my
you were,
arm
you
snapped up.
thought she was going to break. It was so funny to watch you hold her. She's going to be 30 in August.
Jeez, we're getting old.
Oh,
Yeah.
my Lord.
No, I remember that because I remember my arms were cramping up, and I'm like, I don't know. You sit there and watch moms walk through a grocery store, and they're pushing a cart with one hand and holding a kid on their hip with the other one, and I'm like,
For hours.
yeah, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
How can you do that? I couldn't hold on to this child for 5 minutes without both arms cramping up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think women have some like magic thing because I can bench press 225 pounds and I can't hold my son longer than 10 minutes.
Well,
how are they doing
the
it?
weights don't wiggle.
I always said that too. That's funny.
it's a learning experience for sure.
Yep.
Mine was Kendrick was born on Monday, and I ran a part-time bush schedule, just a short track stuff for NASCAR. And we were Thursday at St. Louis racing, and I remember the hospital saying, well, hey, you got to go home. It's Wednesday, right? And I'm like, well, we're leaving for St. Louis we had a pre-bus bus that I had all set up, and I took all the couches out, and I had everything for the baby in there. Just basically taking your house on wheels. And we showed up at St. Louis, and it was cool because NASCAR was good with, hey, we heard you have a new baby on board. Like they knew everything, and they came over every couple hours. That's pretty cool. But yeah, right away he was on the road, and I don't even know how many tracks Kendrick has hit now in his age. I probably raced 60, 70 different racetracks we've been to with him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, thank you guys a lot. We're gonna let you guys go here. We don't want to keep you held up here, but thank you for coming on, both of you, from the bottom of my heart and Erin's heart.
Yes.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Tony. Awesome hearing about your family.
Thank you.
And God bless you both. And Jeff, I'm praying for you and
Thank you.
your health and your recovery. And Linda, was enjoyable. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will get together again. I can promise.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good luck
bet.
a couple of weeks, Tony.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep.
All right.
That's pretty. Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's there's stories and everything, right? We're a family. We're sitting here on the phone, and you can just hear it's all the same experiences that we deal with, and every day.
No matter
Like
the level of your career.
yeah, and then and you can see Jeff and they have a great relationship, and that's the stuff that Tony's right. One thing in racing, relationships, you can't trade this for anything in life. And
No, and you can't find it anywhere else.
yeah. Well, folks, I'll tell you, sorry about the longer show, but it was pretty cool. We had Tony on, and next week we'll let you know what we have next. And I'm not sure. I don't know if we're going to get Trump on, maybe. I was thinking about, but yeah, it was an awesome show. Tony, Jeff, thank you again.
Thank you.
And peace out. We'll episode 8 next week, Wednesday. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
The Thormeyer Family Christmas to Remember returns to Cindy Road in Lakeland on Fridays through Sundays, November 29th to December 22nd. Explore the stunning walk-through trees and light displays, enjoy beloved Christmas movies, and indulge in delicious festival foods. Meet the Grinch on Fridays and Santa on Saturdays, and pick out your freshly cut Christmas trees from a large variety. A Thormeyer Family Christmas.